Hey kiddos. In today's message, we're going to be talking about grit. In case you're like my cousin Vinny and have heard of grit but are unsure what it means, Webster defines grit as courage and resolve, strength of character. Alternatively, as small loose particles of stone or sand. In this video, we're going to be using one definition to gain an understanding of the other. If you're not my kiddos and watching this video, grits are a delicious side dish served with fried spam and butter, but not included in today's video. If you want to see me cook some spam and grits, leave a comment below and I will add it to the list. For this video, I'm going to be restoring this chisel. Now this is not a valuable item and I could probably just sharpen it a bit and get back to using it. However, this channel is about developing new skills that will eventually help us restore the 2nd gen Dodge Charger. So in this message, we learned the patience needed when sanding. Now sandpaper is measured in grit. The lower the number, the more rough, and thus the more material it will remove. I first started with 120 grit sandpaper, but found a spot that wasn't coming off, so I lowered the grit to 80 grit sandpaper, and this stubborn spot, it was taken care of. But you can still see there's lots of lines left in the metal. So what we want to do is start with a low grit, and then work our way up till we get a smooth surface. To demonstrate, I'm going to show you as I progress through the grits on one spot of the metal. Then I'll speed through the rest of the sanding. Next, I'll do the same for one spot in the handle, and then finish up off camera. The last grit that I ended up on this one spot was 320, and you can see how 320 looks after sanding on the metal. Pretty nice. Now I'm going to speed through the rest as I worked on this, went through my progression on the rest of the metal. After finishing up on the metal part, I decided to go ahead and just do the one spot on the handle so I can show you. I started with 320 and just started working this one spot of the handle. This was an experiment I wanted to try. I can't tell if it really helped. But first thing I did is I started by grabbing a wax stick about the same color or close enough as the handle. You can find these on Amazon for sale or at the big box stores. However, I suggest you take your family out to dinner and spend time with your kiddos because, that's what really matters. Not how nice your tools look or anything like that. However, an added benefit beyond the memories that you make will be the free crayons that the restaurant brings to your kiddos to be entertained. Take them home. Put them to use in your garage. Shop. The crayons, not the kiddos. Don't have your own kids? Go out to eat with someone who does. Make friends. Have great conversations. And when you tell the children what a good job they did scribbling lines that look like a cross between a house and a T-Rex, accidentally knock a few crayons on the ground. The parents won't want to give their kiddos anything that's touched the restaurant floor, and you can dispose of them properly by taking them home and using them in your shop. So this end of the handle had several deep gashes out of it, and I'd have to sand it way too much to get them all out. So what I tried to do is I tried heating up the handle and then touching the wax stick to the end, hoping to maybe fill in some of those gaps. I would then sand it again, heat it again, put the crayon back on, wax, rinse, repeat. Not sure if it helped or not, but I was happy with the final results. Now I'd started with a 320 and realized quickly that these gouges were too deep even with the wax. So what I did was I ended up going back down to 120, starting there, and then going to start progressing my way up from the 120. Went through this whole process, making sure of sanding one direction and then going back and sanding a different direction. But after the first few grits, what I would do is sand, heat it up, add the crayon to the end of it, wipe it all down, make sure the gaps were getting filled in as much as possible, and then increase the grit. So this is the 220, start with 120, going to 220, and eventually I do start going in alternating directions, with each grit. So this is the 320. Went left to right last time, now going front to back this time. The reason why we do that is so that the lines that get created in the previous grit kind of get erased, essentially. When you start going the opposite direction, you'll start seeing lines being filled in. And then starting at 400, I actually started with the wet sanding. So I have these sponge sand discs that what I do is I just dip them in a little pail of water before I start sanding. And then, again, making sure to alternate back and forth. This one's a little confusing. First picked up was like 9 grit. When did I get 9 grit? And I realized it was upside down. So it is actually 600. Again, alternating my patterns, going back and forth. Sand, wipe it down. I think it was after 600 I actually stopped with the heating. And this is the last heat treat. I did let this cool down a bit, so it's not me just touching it. What I am trying to do here is to help to try and smooth those bubbles in. You can see the bubbles, it looks like, but you can actually feel them on the end. And now again, 1500 with the wet sand sponge here, and making sure I'm alternating my directions. And it's about this time when I started really struggling. I've been going through all these different grits, and finding the will to push through and keep going. The grit, if you will. When things get hard, we have an option. We can, say, hey, you know what? That's good enough. Or we can find the willpower just to keep pushing on. Kiddos, you may never find yourself polishing a cheap chisel handle to 3500 grit, but if this video can teach you one thing, I hope it helps you to develop your own grit, that to never give up just because things are hard. Dig in. Keep going. You got this. Now to do the same thing all over the rest of the handle. This little piggy went to the market, and this little piggy stayed home. Well, I really like the way it turned out. I think it looks really good, but probably would never do it again, not on a chisel handle, but it does look good. And if you've made it this long, I appreciate you watching, and if you would, hit the like button, subscribe. It really helps out the channel, helps my kiddos find this content if they're ever searching for it in the future. So once again, thank you for watching.